Well, it's a federal court. It is in Boston. It's in a particular circuit, district court, and then we'll go to an appeal circuit. So, the question is, can the administration put strings on federal money to private educational institutions? That's a big question. They do. There's lots of regulations that come with federal money already, so there's a precedent for that. Certainly, and institutions have now taking much less money in indirect costs, is what we call it, from grants from the federal government, and they just they did that themselves. The federal government said we're just cutting indirect costs. So I don't know what the courts will do. Is it really the case that the federal government can't put any strings attached to the money they give to private institutions? I don't know that that's clear. I don't know if this ruling is going to hold up because this is territory we're used to in higher education. But there's no precedent for saying that, higher education, particularly private institutions, have some legal claim against conditions placed on money by the federal government.
Inside Baseball with Wendy Schiller, Brown University. Wendy, the first week of September, Charlie Cook has to publish, the venerable Cook over at the Cook Political Report. And he headlines, Wendy, the two governor races coming up here in November. Redistricting aside, Democrats' glass is half full. Do you agree with that the Democrats have momentum? Paul and I really don't see that.
Charlie Cook and of course, Amy Walter, who's joined a couple of years ago on the Cook Report. Virginia is dicey. It should be a bigger lead for Abigail Spanberger running for governor than it is now when some serious lieutenant governor is running. And that lead is shaky. It's not quite within the margin of error, but it's going in the wrong direction for Democrats. So that's the question I'm thinking about. What about turnout? Lots of federal employees unhappy in Northern Virginia. You'd think that would give the Democrats a pretty big advantage. We're not seeing that as solidly in the polling in Virginia, and that is worrisome for the Democrats. Jersey looks pretty secure. I think Mickey Sherrill is a fairly strong candidate. He's got a military background. So I don't think they're as worried about Jersey. But if they lose Virginia, the Democrats, I think that takes a lot of wind out of their sails. The other state to look at is Iowa. We see a lot of churn in Iowa right now, and that churn seems to be pointing in the Democrats' direction.
Wendy, one area of attention from President Trump over the last several weeks, months, has been the Federal Reserve and his influence over it. Stephen Myron's going to have a hearing this morning. What do you think President Trump's strategy is here, or view of the Federal Reserve is here?
Well, I think the immediate is, of course, to push them to reduce interest rates. We saw a little bit of this movie in the first Trump administration. Don't raise interest rates, keep them really low, pressure on Powell. Certainly, Powell's looking at more towards the end of his term now, so I'm not sure how much that will work. But certainly an immediate cut in interest rates because the Trump administration wants to claim that they're shepherding the economy well. We're seeing some slight warning signs in the economy that that's not what's happening. And the full brunt of tariffs on consumer expenditures hasn't really been felt yet. And if the court really does hold, Supreme Court, that these tariffs went well beyond the authority of the section the president's been using, then that shakes up things as well. And I think that's where the Federal Reserve could say, okay, if we don't have the tariffs, then maybe things get a little bit more reasonable and we could keep rates steady. And that will only infuriate Donald Trump. So that's a big problem because with it is the economy. They own it. It's not Biden's economy anymore. It's Trump's economy. And this is all tied together with how the economy is faring.
Wendy, in 1 minute here, this I think is fascinating. Is this uproar over redistricting in Texas? I can't say the word. I got Lisa Mateo. I got to go to Lisa Mateo Speak Clearly lessons. Redistricting, Wendy. Okay, California.
Just say gerrymandering.
Yeah,
Just say gerrymandering.
I can do that.
Gerrymandering.
He was great. I love Eldridge. You got California, ginormous. Texas, ginormous. Rhode Island may go from 2 congressional seats to 1 in the 2030 census. Discuss that. I mean, it's like what, 98% Democrat. There's 5 token Republicans living on Ocean Drive in Newport. I get it. But what is it like to be in a state that will go from 2 seats to 1 seat possible in 2030?
Well, Rhode Island's very grateful for the bicameral chamber, the Senate and the House. and they've had very influential, particularly Jack Reed and Sheldon
Yeah.
Whitehouse, also the senators. And Jack Reed, in particular, Appropriations Armed Services, has really punched well above his weight. And that's what the Senate does for smaller states. That's was the whole fight in the very beginning, as you well know, and it's still very much true today. Small population states benefit greatly from having two senators. So that's what the counterbalance is for a state like Rhode Island. But the danger for Rhode Island and the danger for the Democratic Party is to read tea leaves from these really, really concentrated supermajority bubbles like we have on the East Coast and the West Coast. And that's, I think, what takes the party nationally astray. And that's where they have to really focus on the grand middle of the country politically. So when I think about Rhode Island, I think, what does this mean for the country? It's not really a harbinger. It's really an outlier.
Right.
We're going to look at New Hampshire. New Hampshire was trending blue for a long time. Seems to be maybe trending red again.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're looking at